So for step 13, attaching the rear lower arms. Well, we've got to grab these two pieces here. They're both B1. And then the A9 piece, we're going to grease some things up. And then we're going to use one of our MA2 screws to screw it in. And you can see here, we just have the one screw. And then there are our two B1 pieces. And then, of course, our A piece right there. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So one thing, it shows if this was a short wheelbase, we'd have to go to a different page. But again, this car is on the standard 257 millimeter wheelbase. So we can continue as it says. So if we were to grab our chassis, you can see here in the diagram the positioning that has to happen. So you can see on the left side, you can see how that is sitting. It could go one way or the other. So the question would be, well, which way is up? Well, you can see that it's got the Tamiya logo on that side. And if you flipped it, it would be here. So if that's the case, if the Tamiya logo is there, then we know that's the positioning. So that would end up going there. And I know I've got to grease it still, but I'll show you here. The Tamiya logo would be that way. So both the Tamiya front to front. So on this, we know that they're going to both sit there like that. So if I pull them out that way, knowing that, we're going to grease this up. And I'll use that same grease to grease up the other side. And yep. So we're going to stick that one in there just like that. Just let it hang for a minute. And we're going to do the same thing with this side. Put some grease on there. Spin it around, get it all over. And the same on the other side. There we go. And so we'll stick that right inside of there. And then you can see with this piece right here, it's sitting there like this. So that this piece here is at the top. You can see how one side it kind of fits downward, but this is sitting at the very top. And you can see that if we do that, let's turn it the way that it's showing in the diagram. You can see that this piece is going to slide onto those ends and then leaving the place where the hole is for using that screw to attach it to the chassis. So knowing that, we've got our grease, we've done all that, we've just got what's left to do, which is do the screw. So I'm going to turn this around and let's do just that. So come on. There we go. Feels right. And as it's only the one screw, I'm just going to screw this right down. And there we go. So arms are still nice and free. So that is it for step 13. So now we're going to move on to step 14 and attach the rear bumper. Well, we've got to grab our bumper, the B8 piece, and then we've got our hardware, and then we just screw it into the back end. So I've got the hardware there. So I'll set this up and let's put it on. So here is our bumper. And you can see from the positioning of this, it's going to be facing down like that. So these pieces facing down. And you can see that technically there's that screw that we put in the last step. This is going to sit over top of that. And then there's two screws here, which are the flathead ones. And then two go into this piece right here. Now this is the soft plastic. But it shouldn't matter because these pieces are going into the hard plastic. But you just want to still make sure that you don't end up over tightening. So let's put this one on. Just want to make sure we can get it started. There we go, there's one. Then we'll put the other one on. And again, I'm just sort of putting them in just a little bit, just to get them started, to make sure that everything else is going in properly. So then we have our two MA1 screws, which are going to go in here. So I grab that. I'm going to make sure it stays on. It might be too big to stay on, but let's give it a shot. Yeah, it doesn't want to, but that's okay. There we go. So now let's get this in there. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Maybe I'll try putting it in first this time. There we go. Now, one interesting point with this, you'll notice that the screw doesn't actually go all the way in. It's only going to reach the outside, which is again why you've got to be careful you don't strip this, because you don't want to go any farther than the end. So if I screw this in, and now we'll screw these two in. And because they're going into the harder plastic, there we go. I can feel it, and as soon as it grabs, I just give it a little extra turn just at the end, but that's fine. So these two though, notice that there's a gap. Well, that's what it's designed to do. You don't want to go any farther than the edge of the plastic. So I'm going to tighten this up, but I'm not going to over tighten. And you'll feel it, because I can back it off a bit too. And that's fine. So there we go. So you're seeing the screw because it's actually hitting here, which again, do not over tighten because it's just going to pull because of that softer plastic. But there we go. There is our rear bumper in place. So step 14 is complete. So now we're going to work on step 15 and attach the front lower arms.